Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back for yet another episode of the Off-Grid podcast. Woo! This episode, super special one because it was the first one that I recorded and filmed in the outdoors, which involved two men holding a laptop, mics, deck chairs, funky hats, coats, whilst climbing up a hill. I'm just so bad at the tech that once it was all set up, we kept everything as it was, jumped in the car, climbed up a hill and pressed record. It was a lot of fun. I recorded this episode with a good friend of mine who goes by the name of Lord Cuthbert. Let it be known that he is the Lord. We're good friends from our uni days in Exeter, and we just recalled all of our adventures that we've had together. Cuff also pulls me up on my somewhat selective memory on my personal adventure stories in my solo episode. In this conversation, we talk about finding ourselves lost in the military danger zone of Dartmoor in the thick of night, getting defeated by a wet and muddy, midgy infested Scotland. It was wet, muddy and midgy infested. Being hit on by a strange man in a quiet Scottish pub, and how Cuthbert managed to land himself ice picking in a snow blizzard on his first mountain climb. Let's giddy go time. Hope you guys absolutely love this one. It was such a laugh, and I hope that you enjoy it too. Alrighty, on with the podcast. Shalom.
Hello.
Here we are for introductions. Who are you?
I am Joe Cuthbert.
You are Lord Cuthbert.
Long-standing friend.
Lord Cuthbert, hailing from Essex. Essex geezer.
Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not.
No.
On so many levels. Cuff, welcome to the Off-Grid podcast, my dude.
Thank you.
Left-handed shake.
The camera. Very direct.
So I've got plentiful notes here.
Yeah, they look really plentiful and deep research that you've done there.
Very well prepared podcast. But I thought we would start with... Should we start with Dartmoor?
Let's do it. Well, which one? We've had a couple, but...
Which one? Where to begin? Obviously, there was an episode before this.
Yeah, I did listen.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I recounted a tale of us two in Dartmoor, basically heading out with a couple of friends where it all went wrong.
Yeah.
And we went for 6 hours, had a very cold beer, which was almost not appreciated by you with your cold hands.
This is one of the inaccuracies in your story I think I need to point out.
So long story short, we went to Dartmoor and I recounted a tale of Cuthbert having cold hands and doing yoga on a stepping stone. It was a complete disaster. We got lost. We ended up in the military red zone at 11 p.m. at night, and I was singing the white flag and you were joining in for the chorus. And I think that there were a few holes in that, or selective memories in your point of view. So what happened out there, Cuth?
No, I think you recalled overall to quite a good accuracy. But there's a few misconceptions which I think we've got to call out. And luckily you've already focused on one, was that you brought the beers. First of all, I brought the beers on that trip, and I remember it because one smashed in my bag on the way there, and I had to clear my bag out. So that's point number one.
You brought the beers?
I brought the beers, and I remember, because we got it outright, it was freezing. Do you remember? We're sitting behind a load of rocks on the top of a tor.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And it was freezing, and I got them out, and I had a thought before I got them out as, do they even want these? So I took a second before, because you had previously brought beers, I'll give to you, to be fair, on other trips. So it was your idea. It was your idea.
So, okay, because there were limes there with the Coronas that we were drinking.
I put them in before we came.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, no, this is really selective memory. I like how my memory serves me as better person than I am.
As usual.
Okay, so we had our Coronas, that was at like the 6 hour mark, wasn't it?
That was fine. We were right at that point. I think we
Morale
thought we were
high.
about to turn around at that point, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was like in our heads, right, we're finished, let's head back.
Yeah.
But that was only the
I
beginning.
think we were all still friends at that point.
Yeah,
And
just
then
about.
what was the next 8 hours?
Well, from what I remember of this story, Jake has quite a consistent attitude that any form of technology in the wild is an absolute no-go, which we embraced, we were fine with. But we got to the point of we had those beers, and I think we thought in our heads it was about 3 hours back to the car. So we head off from that point. We're all quite chippy and happy and, ready to go. Got to about 3 hours and no one recognised where we were, which was obviously a bit of concern to not recognise in the 3 hours that we've been walking since then, not to recognise it. We got to that point, and Lewis, one of our other close friends at university, was desperate to get his phone out, and he was saying to me, right, I'm going to look it up, I'm going to maps it just to know where we are, we're probably nearby, and you just would not let it pass. You wouldn't let that phone come out. So I think we carried on for, I don't know, another hour, probably something like that. Got to the point where we were really like, okay, it's getting dark, it's getting a bit risky here. And Lewis pretended to go to the toilet, and he went over the tour, but he was actually going on his phone just to do it out of sight from you, because he was that scared that you were going to take his phone off of him or something. And then he came back and he whispered to me, we've got to somehow tell Jake that he's completely wrong, we're facing the wrong way, and we've got no chance of getting back without, somehow following this map. And then we, I think, all went on a bit of a wild goose chase about which way to go, and we're trying to have a guess, weren't we? But really, Lewis was trying to point us in the right way, I think, and saying, nope, it's definitely that way.
Oh, so because I remember there was a moment, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Cuthbert, because that is the purpose of this chat, but I thought that Lewis said, I've been on my phone, by the way. We're 4 hours in the wrong direction.
That was after a while of trying to convince you, I think. I'm trying to point you in the right direction. Because we did have that bit, like a bit before this, right, where we all pointed and we all disagreed which way we were going. And that was the point, I think, Lewis went to the toilet and looked at his phone. But then we sort of walked on for another 20 minutes, I think, before Lewis finally said, no, I've looked, we're still going the wrong way, we need to turn around. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up, I remember we saw this massive tor.
Yeah.
And we were like, we could go round it, or the car's on the other side, so we'll just go up it. And then that's the point where we weren't talking for 2 hours.
No, well, other than Lewis, do you remember Lewis on his phone? We were absolutely knackered by that point, weren't we? And then we were going up that tour where we had no choice really, but did we, other than to go over it? And Lewis is going up backwards on the phone to his dad, talking about his car or something.
Showboating up at the front like a beautiful athletic gazelle.
I know, then me, you and Zach were at the back just gasping for air and not even talking for like an hour.
Yeah, and then, so then we ended up in Dartmoor in the danger zone.
Yes.
At the wrong hour, most importantly, of the night time.
In the dark. Yeah.
In the dark. You had previously run your first half marathon the day before?
Yeah, it was the day before. It wasn't even an official event, but I was doing a half marathon not that long after. And I just run one the day before just to test it, completely forgetting that we were meant to be doing this hike. But I thought in my head, we're only going to do like a 5-hour hike or something. It'll be fine. If only I'd known that it was going to turn into the hike that it did. But yeah, my legs were not functioning by the end of that last 2 hours or so, I don't think.
All I remember is this point where there was, we'd been through all the marshland, we'd gone through over all the tours, and we had finally found our way out of Dartmoor, and then there was this one puddle, and you couldn't get over it because you were absolutely battered.
I know, my legs had like completely seized up by that point, and I just remember like that, because the marsh was all like, it was massive deep holes, wasn't it? Do you remember? Because it flooded, so you couldn't see where you were treading. I think my foot just went down this hole, and we're in like the last, 30-40 minutes. I was just like, I don't know if I can get this foot back up. It like vacuumed into the mud, and I was just like, do you know what, I've had enough at this point.
Yeah, we had had enough, definitely. And because of the music that was playing in our friend Zach's car at that time, he had one CD which played "There Will Be No White Flag on the Door," and we were all singing it along in the red zone of Dartmoor to cheer ourselves up.
I know, it was good. It was good. I think you were singing it slightly louder than the rest of us, but yeah, we were all enjoying it.
Yeah, so okay, there's obviously some selective memory there. I see myself as a slightly better person than I was that day, perhaps. But yeah, we've had our fair share of adventures together.
Indeed.
We've thankfully had a lot of them go not to plan as well.
Almost all of them. I'm trying to think of one that has gone to plan.
I know. Well, it's a bit hard
not to go to plan when you refuse to plan. That's where the source of this all comes from, I think.
It can't not go to plan if there is no plan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, well said. Oh, we've got a walker coming.
I think the hats are the final weirdness of this situation with this guy.
Do you reckon that he's gonna wonder what on earth we're doing?
I would hope so.
Should we say we're doing a theatre project for year 6?
And the moustache might say otherwise for that one.
We'll see how we go. Maybe he's a fan of the podcast. Who knows? Hey,
Hiya.
hey, we're doing a podcast. Do you wanna talk about what you're doing today in the outdoors?
Well, I've just been on a walk.
Lovely.
Cheers. See ya. Thanks. It's called Off Grid. You'll be on it this week. See ya, dude. Beautiful people in the outdoors.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we had our fair share of things gone wrong, and I think one that for me went more than wrong, where it wasn't funny, was Scotland.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's funny in retrospect, but basically, you and I headed off for a big trip. Got in the car, did our 8-hour drive up to Scotland, or 9-hour drive, whatever it was. We actually stopped in the Lake District.
We stopped at the Lake District for one night, didn't we?
Yeah.
On the way up.
Yeah, and that was lovely.
It was. That part was amazing. Fish and chips, I think. Had a pretty cozy time.
So we went into town, had fish and chips, camped in a decent spot next to the car, and then went up to Scotland. That was the toughest, most boggiest trekking I'd ever done at that point, and still have ever done. It was just like up to my knees.
I think that, like, obviously we'll get to the term round, but the day we went, like, kicked off from that visitor centre to the night that we camped, that was like rough, because like, we didn't have an aim either, did we? Like, we didn't really know where we were going to stop. I think that made it a lot harder.
Yeah, we sort of turned up thinking, well, we actually didn't have a route or anything, did we?
We had a circular route, didn't we, that was going to end on the beach, do you remember?
Yeah, but we only got that from the lady in the information centre.
Yeah, we found it out that morning, yeah. Exactly.
So we basically walked into the information centre, a really friendly lady. She was basically like, yeah, guys, what have you got? You got 4 or 5 days, great, here's the route that you need to do. And we lasted a night.
It's worth saying as well, I think we started walking at like 11 or something. It wasn't even like we'd been walking since early hours.
We certainly hadn't done a day's trekking. I mean, we'd done maybe 5 or 6 hours. And then we ended up finding a place to pitch. But that was only after you and I sort of went our different ways to recce for a place to pitch up the tent. And I ended up about waist deep in a load of sinking moss, do you remember?
Yeah, we had to go through a bit of it, didn't we, to get to it, and it was just horrible. Like, actually waist deep. I'd never come across stuff like that before. It was crazy.
It was quite scary. I remember I completely sunk down to my waist and I kept sinking.
Yeah.
And then I started screaming for you.
I heard it.
I was screaming out the woods going, Cuthbert. And there was no branch to hang on to. And all I remember was you came over, and as soon as you saw me, you just burst out laughing.
You were fine. It was fine.
And then you had to reach over, and you were kind of pulling me out, weren't you? So you know we pitched up on the side of that track, right? So obviously at that point, that's when rain started dripping on our faces in the tent.
Yeah.
And we were just having a right old misery. And I think it was me actually who turned to you and said, is it a wise choice to...
Yeah, I think I was probably going to, if by the end of that evening, if you hadn't said anything. But yeah, I was definitely in the same thought process.
It wasn't a challenge for us, was it? It wasn't like we got to do this thing and we're prepared to endure the hardship or whatever.
Yeah.
We were there to kind of just have a laugh together and chill out and have a good chat and conversation.
Yeah.
But it was far from that. And that was also the same day. It was the hottest day on record in the south of England.
Yeah, and it was just raining and horrible, wasn't it? I think as well, I don't know if you remember, but on that 6-7 hours that we did on the way to the pitch where we made up, the river that we had to go across. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because the bridge that we had meant to have crossed had collapsed, or it was
the day
flooded or
before
something
it was
like
a
that.
stream.
Yeah.
And we went through at ankle height.
Mm.
And the
Oh, yeah.
next morning, we turn up, and it was like full up to the knees. It was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember we had to like throw that rope across. Do you remember? And we had to cross over through that, and it was just everything got wet and horrible. And that's, I think, as well what led to that decision, because even like the backpacks, I think, were like slightly wet. And it was just like we meant to have 4 days or 3 days more ahead of us.
Everything was soaked.
Yeah.
And that was the point where I realised that actually you can have fun, you can have a good time, but you got to be prepared. Like we were woefully underprepared for Scotland.
Yeah.
I think if we stuck it out, we would have either got into trouble somehow, like we would have got, I don't know, infected or breaking an ankle or something.
Yeah.
Or we would have just got completely lost.
Yeah. I think what was impressive though is despite all of that, we did end up where we'd marked on the map, hadn't we? Do you remember, like in that forest that we had seen?
Yes.
But in a absolutely horrible state of our kit and us.
Yeah.
And we were knackered.
We had achieved what we set out to do.
Exactly, yeah.
And did I tell you? But then about a year later, I got sent a YouTube video of this guy trekking in Scotland.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, check out this video, see what he's up to." And he was in that same part. So he starts at the Harry Potter Bridge, Glenny Finnegan,
William sort of area,
Fort William area. And then went through to that woodland where we were.
Mm.
And I'm watching the video like, wow, this is exactly where Cuff and I were. And right where we camped, I kid you not, literally half a mile from there is a bothy.
Oh, no. Imagine how nice that would have been if we'd got there.
I know.
Yeah.
Literally, like, so, you know where the trees were? Just behind those trees was a bothy with a fireplace and everything. Had a kettle and everything.
I don't think there was much dry wood unless it was inside the bothy anyway.
Yeah.
I think everything was soaked, wasn't it?
Yeah. So tell us, what did we do that next day after sort of confiding in each other that we were going to pack it in?
Yeah, so we headed back, didn't we? And then that was again a bit of a grueling trek. It wasn't as bad because I think we had the end goal, didn't we? We just had to get back to the car. And we got back. I think it was still hammering it with rain most of that day. We're like, do you know what? Let's just go south. Let's go and get the sun and enjoy the heat, didn't we? And it was meant to be like, I think the next day it was like 30 degrees or something in Yorkshire, wasn't
gorgeous.
it? And then that's where we set our eyes, wasn't it?
And it wasn't even south. Like we were in the North
no,
York
like
Moors.
south than where we went.
And it was boiling.
Yeah.
So that's why it was such an obvious decision, because it wasn't like we had to drive 10 hours to get anywhere hot.
No.
It was literally a 5-hour drive.
Yeah.
And then we ended up having a great time.
We did. And we'd done a couple of days in Scotland, hadn't we? Because we had that day before the disastrous trek. Do you remember where we went next to that waterfall and river? We camped in that bit.
Yeah.
And all the midges and that were
the
really
midges.
annoying. Yeah. So we'd already had a few days camping there, hadn't we? It was just, we thought we were going to do like a 3-day circular trek, and it was a 2-day.
And we both shook hands. Do you remember? We shook hands and we said we'll come back and we'll climb Ben Nevis.
Yes, because that was the other thing. We were going to still do Ben Nevis, and then the day we left, that storm hit. Do you remember? And I don't know if they
someone
actually
had
closed
died
it.
or something.
Yeah, but like the rangers weren't letting people up and stuff, because we went to that visitor centre in the high street below it, didn't we? And they were like, no, you're not going up today. So then we were like, let's just go to Yorkshire. Take on the easy stuff.
Yeah, no, we were there for a longer time than I remember now, actually.
It's 2 or 3 days, but yeah.
Yeah, we gave it a good go. And then there was another time, which is obviously the bit that we've been joking about before recording this, is that time we were in the pub. But when was that? When was that the same trip?
That was, yeah. So when we decided to call it a day and start heading back, it was already quite late by the time we got back to the car, wasn't it? So we said, well, we'll find a youth hostel, we'll dry the kit, we'll get showered, and then we'll head to Yorkshire. So we didn't go that evening. And then I'd stayed in that youth hostel at the bottom of Ben Moor. Do you remember, with the expedition lot?
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's try and go there. But long story short, we got there and it was taken or something. We couldn't go there. But then opposite, there was another one. That's where we stayed. And that's where that pub was, where I know you're going next.
So basically, yeah, we found this hostel. It was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nice.
We were actually really happy to be there because there was hot water and we
Dry
got to
room.
clean our clothes, dry room.
Yeah.
Which was super important. So we ended up, I remember morale was really good.
Yeah.
We were very happy to be there. And there was a pub down the road and we thought, absolutely. So we went down, had our couple of Guinness. You probably ordered a Foster's. And
did.
we bumped into a couple of locals there, didn't we?
We did.
Who were peculiar souls.
Well, not initially.
No.
Initially, it was fine.
Yes.
It was. They were just friendly, wanted to chat. You know, they were playing a bit of pool, weren't they? And invited us to play a bit of pool. It was all very normal. But then after a couple of beers more, it got a little bit more unusual, didn't it?
And I think that's what made it so odd, was
Yeah.
that it was like we were a toad in a slow boiling pan. We didn't realise.
I've never heard that before.
It's slow. Oh, come on.
No.
Yeah. So if you put a toad in a boiling pan, with a pan with boiling water, it will jump out.
Okay.
If you put a toad in a pan with cold water and slowly heat up,
I don't
it
want to know how
slowly
you figured this out.
boils and dies.
Okay.
I don't actually think that's true, but at least the metaphor
the saying.
remains.
Yeah.
And people use that in loads of different contexts.
Okay.
Like with war, like this idea that there's like a grey zone
Yeah.
of like you're kind of at war, but you're not really at war.
Mm.
Likewise in relationships as well. Like
Yeah.
you're in a bad relationship, you don't really realise and it boils.
Yeah.
We were that in that pub. We were the
Okay.
toads, mate.
Yeah, we were set up, I think, is what we were.
So this family, they were super friendly. They had a son in that pub,
Yeah.
and
He was an older guy, though, to be clear, wasn't he? He was like...
was he?
Yeah, the son...
40?
No, like, he was like mid-30s, wasn't he? But what I'm
Okay.
saying is he wasn't like a child with parents.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah. He wasn't like having a fruit
Yeah.
shoot. Oh, we got more hikers. This is great.
I,
Hey guys. Hey, we're doing a podcast about the outdoors. Have a good one. So yeah, we ended up chatting with the son, playing pool. We were getting involved, weren't we?
Yeah, we
were
were.
having a good
we were
laugh.
happy to.
Very much so. Until we weren't. What did he start doing?
It was more on you than it was on me.
Right.
So I don't remember the specifics. I just remember it was just weird, right? But there was a lot of little comments being made. There was a lot of, I don't know, when you were playing pool, there was a lot of touching, I'd
Yes.
say. And it all got a bit odd, didn't it? Quite
did.
quickly. And
It started getting sexual.
it did, very. And he was getting more and more drunk. And then he started to come out like, you know, that this was a little town. Everyone was involved with everything. Like, and he started to then want to know where we were staying and if he could come back for an after party. And yeah.
And this was not an after party vibe at all.
no, this is
I mean, we were like
six
the
people
only...
in a pub.
Yeah. But he wanted these two young bats
Yeah.
to come back for an after party after showing us in the most physical way possible how to play pool.
Yeah.
I think at that time we were only about 22 or something.
Yeah, I think so.
We
yeah.
were wondering what on earth was going on.
God, I've completely forgot. I've just remembered. Do you remember when we were sitting there learning to play pool with this guy, and the dad was in there as well, right? And he was hammered. And do you remember the mum kicking the front door of the pub open? And she lived in the opposite house to the pub. And she was shouting at him that his dinner was ready, and he had to come back and leave the pub.
Yeah!
Do you remember that? And then that's when it started to get weirder, because he left, and then it was just like us, the son, and a couple of these old guys. And that's the point where it really like turned into a bit more.
He got hurried out, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
His wife was saying that dinner was ready and he was mumbling and grumbling his way out the door
Yeah,
for dinner that was being cooked for him.
exactly. Yeah, it was an odd one. But yeah, I remember he was very determined to find out where we were staying, and then I think it was my fault, to be honest. I think he said like, well, you can't not be staying anywhere. And I was like, oh yeah, we're in a youth hostel, just not thinking that would give anything away. Obviously the only youth hostel in like 50 square miles is the one up the road. And he's like, oh, so you're staying there? And I'm like, nope. I was like, didn't say that.
I'm sure it was probably the word youth that got him going.
Yeah, exactly.
If you stuck with hostel, you would have stayed clear.
Exactly. It's all very odd. I
So
think-
yeah, that was bloody peculiar.
Yeah.
And And you mentioned as well there you've had experiences yourself in the outdoors where we haven't been together. You were part of Expedition Society.
I was.
And you headed out to Scotland on a different occasion, did you?
Yeah.
And I remember you getting back, and you said that was a hairy one. You were like, there were a few moments there. What were you doing out there? What did you get up to, dude?
Yeah, it was like my first time doing like proper mountaineering stuff, really. I'd done loads of hiking and that, but never that, like, with crampons and ice axes and all that. So we went up there in December with this uni group, and there's a good bunch of guys and girls, and I think there was about 15, 20 of us, so it was a decent sized group. And we essentially were there for I think 3 or 4 days, and each day we climbed a different mountain. But the first one we did was Ben Moor, and that's where we sort of knew that hostel from. And we went up Ben Moor, and it was right in the middle of December. It's just before Christmas, completely ice covered, snow covered, and it was all right for the first half, obviously, when it's not that icy. No, yeah, so we got up to the top of this mountain, and it was just like the wind was ridiculous. It was thick ice. It was just quite serious, like, especially like for me, first time doing it. And most people on that trip, other than about 5 people, hadn't done anything like this before. So we were proper going up it with ice axes and that. And we got to a couple of points. There's a few times that people slipped or their crampon came down and came off, and they just like slide 10 meters down and then like catch a rock, or they'd be able to, like, because you have your ice axe, so you can put it in to slow you down and that. And I was just like, Jesus, like, how have I got here for my first trip? And there's no harnesses, no nothing like that, and it was just all a bit dodgy. And obviously Ben Moor isn't that crazy of a mountain, right? It's only, it's a pretty standard one to do, but in those conditions it got serious quite quick. So we had about a third of the group drop out and go back down about halfway up.
Ooh.
Another group left when we got about another couple of 100 meters up, and it ended up being about last 7 people, me with the guys that sort of run the community. And I remember we got to about 20 meters from the peak of this thing, and by this point I'm literally on my belly climbing up with ice axes, like snaking it up the edge of this mountain. It was that windy, I couldn't stand up in that.
Are we talking like 80 degree, 90 degree?
No. There was only one bit that was like that. It is like, it's not that steep, but you needed it to like stay stable, because otherwise you just get blown all over the place. And we got to about 20 meters to the top, and it got to the point where I couldn't even like keep my hood up. If I put my hood up, it just like blow straight back down. So it's minus 15 degrees blowing on your face, and it was freezing cold. And we all just looked at each other, and we could see the top, right? Could see the summit. We were just like, we've got to call it. And it was like 20 meters away, but it was taking us like 10 minutes to go like 5 meters. It was that like harsh, and I was just like, this is gutting. So we called it off. It never got to the summit, and we had to go back down with, I don't know, it's probably 20 or 30 meters left until we got there.
So just not worth it in the end.
It's just taken us too long. It was so cold that we were all going numb, and that was the point where we were like, right, one of us is going to get frostbite or something here. So yeah, we went back down. But on the way back down, it was one slope really. There was one clear bit with not much rocks or debris on it, and we just slid the whole way down. So it had taken us like 7 hours to get to the top of this thing. We were down in like an hour. It was brilliant. We just slid the whole way down.
Wow.
But yeah, we did that, and then the other days weren't anything like that, to be fair. They were fine. We did like Ben Louis and a couple of others, and they were all really good. It was a good laugh, and a good group to go with. But I just never forget that Ben Moor. Yeah, that was just...
Were there
crazy.
people at that point who disagreed with the decision to go back down?
I think probably... I don't know. I don't really know who called it, to be honest, because I wasn't going to call it, because it was like my first time with these guys, and I didn't know, if this was that serious, because I'd never done anything like it before. But I think the vice president called it in the end. But I think the president would have carried on. I think he would have kept going. But yeah, there was a good 3 people that didn't want to continue, and we didn't want to then separate into groups again on that one when you're that high into like groups of 3. So yeah, I think everyone just ended up calling it and going back down. But yeah, the president was quite he was a great guy. He's quite like extreme in the stuff he does, and that's
Well, Donald Trump is.
But he like broke his leg once falling off a mountain and had to get helicoptered off and all sorts. So I think he was quite used to the extreme side of stuff.
Wasn't there a bit where he ended up falling off or something?
No, there was one bit, and I think it was actually on the way down. I can't remember. There was another guy, and he might have been Adam. I can't remember. But we went down this like cliff bit, like side face to go up to the next summit bit. And as we were going across, it was really like narrow. You only had like a foot's worth of this ledge to go across on. and we were using our ice axes still, but he slipped and his foot went, and he slipped, and he literally stomped his foot and put his ice axe in and managed to, bring himself to a halt. And when we'd got him up, because no one was really thinking about it, but when we pulled him up, we looked at where his indent had been, and his indent was on the edge of this drop-off, literally the last bit of snow there was before it fell, and this thing was like a 30-metre drop. And we were like, oh my God, if he hadn't managed to stop himself, he would have gone off of that. And it was like 30 metres. And I think that was the point where I'm like, God, I don't know about this. That's like, that coming that close to falling off a 30-metre thing. And, this was high up on the mountain. You'd have to get mountain rescue if he broke his leg or something like that. So, yeah, it was a scary one. But
it's serious stuff.
Yeah, it was. But it was really fun. I loved it. I had no bad memories of it. But it was just, it's quite the experience for the first time doing it. But, yeah.
It feels like you almost went straight for the deep end. Because I know you said there that you didn't know how serious it was just for the fact that it was your first time.
Yeah, like I didn't know if this was just mountaineering, is this just how it goes? But then there's a couple of faces of like some of the society members that were getting very worried very quickly, and I was like, well, they've done it before and they're worried, so I was like, it must be not quite right. But it was all okay, and like I did trust them, and it was such a thin line between what could go wrong, and especially on the fact that we'd gone on the way up, we'd passed, and anyone that's done Benmore has probably seen it, but there's a load of this rock pile and it's got a big cross on it, and it's from where an avalanche actually killed I think like 10 or 8 hikers, and like it was ages ago, years and years ago. And then we went past that on the way up, and I was like, oh God, like what is this? Like I always saw Scotland as obviously it's more serious for the UK, but I didn't see it as a challenging place to go, hiking or, climbing. I thought it was still quite, mundane. It wasn't that hard. But when I saw that, I was like, oh God, it can turn quite quickly. But yeah, so that was my first proper mountaineering experience, which was really cool, but at the same time really scary.
I'd never done anything like that. I've only done trekking, never with an ice pick or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would love to.
It was interesting though, because I always thought ice axes were like, how you see it in the movies where you're climbing 90-degree angles going up, a face, but it wasn't like that. It was more, we were sort of like, I don't know, a 60-degree angle. You're on your knees and that, but you're using it to pull yourself up the slope. That's at least how we were using it. But the second day we had a bit more of a 90-degree slope, but it was only 10 metres high. If you felt it wasn't going to be the end of the day, it was fine. But yeah, it was cool.
That's sick, mate. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered quite a few stories there.
We have. Sure, there's plenty more.
I know. Well, I mean, we do. When I was recounting like all the different things we've done, it's like it's coming back to me as we're saying it.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And all these different ones. Is there anything I've missed out? Is there any?
No, I don't think so. It's quite funny when on that same Dartmoor trip, do you remember Zach lost his shoes, and rather than recovering them, he just decided to walk the rest of the hike with like soggy socks and without any shoes. But
he was such a great character.
He was, yeah.
He was in his 5th year at uni. Do you remember?
And to be clear, he wasn't going for a doctorate. He was on a 3-year course.
Yeah, he was on a 3-year course in his 5th year. Yeah. And so we were in the bog, and he had basically lost his shoes.
Yeah.
And he just thought, no bother. I'll just carry on barefoot.
Well, he thought we only had 2 hours to go. When it turned into 6 or 7 or whatever it was, he probably had some different thoughts.
We all did. Yeah. There is definitely that point mentally, isn't there, where it's like we're having fun, because you know that like it's over in 2 hours or 3 hours, and then there's the bit where you're like, we're lost. It's going to be at least another 4 hours.
Yeah.
And we're not having fun anymore.
I remember that when we got over the top of that massive tor, in our heads, I think we'd all said like, right, we can see that tor, we're going to get over that, and then we're at the car. Like, that's it, done. Then, like, we're good. When we got to the top of that tor, got to the bottom, we're like, actually, we've still got like an hour and a half, like, flat terrain now to cover. And I was like, oh my God, like, knackered. But yeah.
We were knackered. We were absolutely battered. And I remember we met the next morning, and we were broken men, weren't we? We didn't say a lot.
No. I was just about walking, I think.
Hobbling along. Yeah. People probably thought we had a massive night out or something.
Yeah, that was good. But No, I love that trip. Like, it's one of the best memories of uni. Like, as horrible as it was, I do remember it fondly because it was so funny. But at the time, it was dodgy, wasn't it?
The sun shone on your face just as you said that.
The halo will come out in a minute.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about voodoo and spirits and who believes in what, but we'll leave that for another podcast.
I think you can probably guess which one believes it. One that made us wear these hats that we've not mentioned or acknowledged at all the whole way through the podcast.
Yeah, we haven't brought that up yet. We like to do it subtle.
Yeah.
Well, this has been the first podcast in the outdoors. If anyone's listening to it, that means it worked. So thank you very much for listening. And Lord Cuthbert, thank you very much for coming on to the Off-Grid podcast.
Pleasure to be here, and what a view to do it with. So, been great.
Absolutely.
Damn.